Mike talked about the radio, and on the way back, obviously, if you're in a road trip and you're in a car, you want to find something on the radio, and they found something to talk about, and they listened to quite a bit.
Of course, Oscar and I did determine that our senses of humor might be slightly different. All three of us have, like, what Oscar really likes is not what I really like, and what I really like is not what Rob really likes.
We actually did something that is normally really it's nauseating to all of us. We got down in the car at one point, and we're talking the serious business of comedy.
We did, and we listened to, really, the primary music that we listened to during the 13-hour drive back was comedians.
The primary
because
music,
doesn't it keep you awake? You did most of the driving, Oscar. Doesn't it keep you awake?
Dying laughing driving.
I think
was really great.
The primary music of our trip back was Mike saying, "I don't like the YouTube app."
Yeah, but
I hate the YouTube.
It showed
app.
the two sides or
horrible.
three sides of comedy in the actual car, because when we started talking about the comedians we liked, we'd look them up and play their actual stand-up sets.
Yeah, now, Cat Williams, is that the guy?
Yeah.
So Oscar hips me to Cat Williams, who I think it'd be safe to say is a very visual guy.
Absolutely.
If you're not looking at him, you're not going to enjoy him.
We should book him for Cat this year.
Thank you very much. Are you going to start with that now?
No, we don't have a date
Can I just
yet.
have one day back before you start with Cat?
We don't have a date for it yet.
Looking forward to that. Probably early summer?
Could be.
Yeah, fantastic.
Just
looking forward to that.
Just got to sign a few contracts.
Yeah. No, I enjoy that. I enjoy anything that doesn't put a nickel into the
Pre-order your tickets for Cat 2013 today. Again, the conversation is such. We've listened to Mike before complain about what's on the radio. These guys got around the topic of comedy, and so that's what they ended up listening to a lot on the way back. And it doesn't surprise me, because the point of view from the guys is there's nothing good from terrestrial radio standpoint. There's nothing good on, but this is something that they could listen to and they can enjoy and they can share together. And because they're all entertainers, they can really kind of get in depth and talk about the nature of comedy, which I wish that I had been a fly on that window, preferably on the inside of the window, not on the outside of the window as the car hit me at 70 miles per hour. But I wish that I could have heard that conversation, because I'm sure it was fascinating listening to Rob, Oscar, and Mike from very different point of views talk about comedy. But when they talked about who they were listening to, my go-to is George Carlin. He's number one, tops of my list. And I believe, for the same reasons as Rob does, it's because of his delivery. His timing is perfect. It's always... When he takes on a topic, he really gets into it, but he gets into it in such a way that you can't help yourself but be enthralled. You're on the edge of your seat because he's carrying you along. Even if he's doing one of those poems that you can't imagine he's memorized at a cadence that is going super fast, you're on the edge of your seat listening to it and laughing hysterically. Who is your go-to, Jason, for comedy?
Oh, we could go down a rabbit hole on this one. Carlin was definitely an entry. My entry point was Bill Cosby.
Yes.
From childhood.
My entry point, too.
My parents had Cosby vinyl that I would listen to, and I kills me I can't find Sports, one of his old albums. You can't get it anymore.
Really?
It's gone. It's out of print.
iTunes, baby.
Believe me, I've hunted and hunted. The only option I would have would be an illegal download from a questionable website.
Oh.
It's because it was a small startup label that he jumped to briefly from Warner.
Gotcha.
And then he came back. But anyhow, Cosby, Carlin. I got into Carlin big when I started buying CDs for the first time.
Yeah.
And loved George Carlin. I was lucky enough to get to see him live once. One of the guys I used to work with worked with him at the radio station in Boston back in the day before he got started. And they were friends. In fact, he said he got to see him at a show once and got invited backstage and asked for an autograph. And he said George signed it to me, to Chip. F you, George Carlin. He said, if you know George, you know that's the greatest sign of love he can give you in one of his signatures. Loved Carlin. And the man loved language. He was in love with language.
That's what drew me into Carlin most.
He painted and constructed with language. He even used his breath in his acts. You know what I'm talking about? Where he'd do something and go, at the end of it. Like, he used everything on stage audibly. So